Okay, so have you ever heard a theory that tries to connect all the dots? We're talking the pyramids of Egypt, the planet Mars, and one of the most famous alien abduction cases in history. Well, we're about to dive into a story that does exactly that. It draws this incredible line from a star system 12 light years away straight to our own ancient past. So yeah, let's break this thing down. And it all kicks off with this message. It's from a being who calls himself Mohar the Mish Martian. Right off the bat, he says he's from a solar system called Ta-Seti, which is about 12 light years from us. And you gotta understand, this one single claim, it's the bedrock for this entire story. A story that basically tries to rewrite everything we think we know about ancient history and, our place in the universe. So the big question is, who is this self-proclaimed Martian? Well, the theory gives us a surprisingly detailed backstory, and it all starts way out there, with his home among the stars. And check this out. The whole story is centered on a real star system, Ta-Seti. Now, in this narrative, they call it Ta-Seti. And this is a really key detail, right? Because what they're doing is grounding these totally extraordinary claims in a real place, an actual star system that our own astronomers are looking at right now. Okay, and this is where the theory starts getting really specific. It takes that classic gray alien you see everywhere and actually splits it into two different groups. First, you've got the melanated Grays. They're said to have darker skin because their home planet Ta-Seti is closer to their sun. Makes sense, right? And then you have the pale Grays, and they're from the fifth planet, Ta-Uf, which is farther out. And see, this isn't just a random detail. It's a clever way to build this internal logic, to explain why there might be different kinds of Grays all coming from the same star system. Now, a story this huge, it's got to have some proof, right? Well, the theory presents two main pieces of what it calls evidence. And what's so interesting is how it does this. It pulls from actual, real-world events and some really famous folklore to try and back itself up. So, the first pillar of this whole thing is built around the year 2012. Now, I know what you're thinking, the whole Mayan calendar thing, but nope, this theory points to a totally different and very real scientific event from that year as its proof. And this is a perfect example of how this whole narrative works. It takes a legitimate scientific discovery in 2012 when astronomers found potential exoplanets in Ta-Seti's habitable zone, and then it just slaps its own labels on them. It says, see, those planets? That's them. That's Ta-Seti and Ta-A. It's a really clever way to co-opt a real discovery. All right, let's get to the second piece of evidence. And this one taps into one of the most famous stories in all of UFO history. It's how the theory connects the Ta-Seti system directly to a huge landmark alien abduction case. Yeah, we're talking about the Betty and Barney Hill case, all the way back in 1961. This is arguably the abduction story that started it all, the most famous one ever. And what this theory claims is that a really crucial detail from their encounter wasn't just some fuzzy memory. It was a literal star map pointing right back to Ta-Seti. So here's how the theory says it all went down, in 4 steps. First, the hills are taken. Then, during the whole thing, Betty actually asks the beings where they're from. And what do? They show her a 3D star map. Later, under hypnosis, she's able to draw this map from memory. And here is the big finale, according to the theory. That map she drew, it's claimed to be a perfect match for the Ta-Seti star system. This is presented as the absolute smoking gun, the thing that connects this legendary case to the Mish Grays. And from there, the narrative takes this huge leap, all the way from the stars right down to ancient Earth. The claim isn't just that these beings from Ta-Seti visited us. No, it's that they played a massive, foundational role in our own history. And this is maybe the boldest claim in the whole theory. The speaker, Mohar, he doesn't just say we visited. He says, we set off the chain of events that created your species. He even says they consider us their children. I mean, that completely reframes the whole story. It's not about a visit anymore. It's about creation. And the theory gets really specific with these connections. For example, their home system, Ta-Seti, is linguistically linked to Ta-Seti, which is an ancient name for Nubia or Upper Egypt. And their architecture? The theory claims that the Nubian pyramids are basically direct copies of buildings from their home world. But hold on, because the story claims Earth wasn't even their first stop in our solar system. Nope.
Before they ever came here and influenced our ancient civilizations, they supposedly set up a major outpost on our next-door neighbor, Mars. And this is where the Moors on Mars part of the theory comes in, suggesting they had a whole history right there. And the theory paints this really detailed picture of their Martian civilization. It says they built pyramids there too, just like the ones in Nubia and on their homeworld. It even claims that the famous face on Mars is one of their sculptures. But get this, it's wearing a fez. It goes on to say that the name Mars actually comes from Moors, the name of their species. And then, in what might be the wildest twist of all, it claims our pop culture has this hidden memory of them in the cartoon character Marvin the Martian.
And just to really hammer home that cartoon connection, the speaker, Mohar, literally quotes Marvin the Martian. He references the famous Alludium P-36 explosive space modulator. It's just this incredibly surreal moment where ancient cosmic history suddenly slams right into Saturday morning cartoons. So when you step back and look at it, what you have is this theory that just masterfully weaves together real astronomy, classic UFO lore, ancient history, and even pop culture. It creates this one seamless story that connects all these totally separate things. And so the question it leaves you with is a really big one. Is this some lost chapter of our own history that's been hidden all this time? Or is it just a really compelling modern myth, perfectly built for our age of cosmic curiosity? Well, that's something for you to decide.